Early in the morning, early in the morning, before we leaving now, I got the gang, raising say, I don't give a damn, I don't give a damn. Early in the morning, early in the evening, when we leaving, let everybody, God nobody. I got the warning, I got the warning. Are you ready, boy? Are you ready now? You'll be ready now. You ought to be ready. It is Mardi Gras morning, Mardi Gras morning. You got to be ready. Oh, I'm ready. Looking for trouble. I'm ready to double. Trouble come, boy. Nobody run, boy. Nobody who boy.
Well, I grew up in the Ninth Ward. I went to William Frantz Elementary School. I started going there in 1966. It's the same school that Ruby Bridges integrated in 1960. So I went there not long after that. I went to school there, junior high, Cone Junior High. I stayed there most of my life. There's only a short period of time when I didn't live in the Ninth Ward for maybe 12 to 15 years when I lived uptown in Broadmoor in my brother's house. So the Ninth Ward is my home. As I said, I've always lived there. I feel it's a very strong community. It's a unique community. It kind of flies under the radar, which I think is a good thing. We don't have a lot of attention. We have more now in the aftermath of the federal levy breaks, but before then there wasn't a lot of attention. Very family oriented, a lot of families in the area. People grow up, and they still kind of stay in that area. It's like New Orleans. I think the Upper Ninth Ward is a microcosm of New Orleans. People don't go far. But now in the aftermath of the federal levy breaks, I think it's even more important to stabilize the community. A lot of people have not returned, and that's unfortunate. Families, longtime families that were there, grandparents, children, grandchildren, who all lived in the same basic neighborhood. Many families kind of practice that tradition of the children living because they're doubles in the area. So the children may live on one side of the double until they get stabilized to get their own home. So the grandchildren, the grandparents, the children, and the children, 3 generations, maybe 4 generations were living in the same home. So you've lost some of that in the aftermath of the levy breaks. But with my mother, what we've done to try to stabilize the community, my mother had a nursery school on Desire and North Prayer Street. And my father had a weekly program with the children at Mass with us. So he would teach them about the Mardi Gras Indians, just protocols, New Orleans cultural history. I hope that my role would be one that would hopefully bridge the gap between indigenous cultural communities and municipal law enforcement, as well as the decision-making entities of the city, such as the city council, that we will be able to develop a heightened awareness of protocols of indigenous cultural traditions, such as the Mardi Gras Indians, social and pleasure club traditions, as well as grieving traditions and protocols. Different things happen in the community depending upon which community you're from. When a person dies, when they pass and become an ancestor. So it's not unusual for people to have processions through the neighborhood, cultural processions, to gather money for individuals to donate money towards funeral costs and different things like that. Maybe just to go to one of their favorite places and have an impromptu Indian practice or a little impromptu parade or procession, and to realize that this is part of the fiber of our city, part of the cultural traditions of our city, and not necessarily something that can be overregulated. So, but of course we realize that they are laws that have to be adhered to, but let's find a space where we can meet an intersection of collaboration between the police department and other entities, as well as in the cultural communities of the city. So I'm very excited that they selected me for that committee, because it's a recognition of the work that we've been doing through the Mardi Gras Indian Hall of Fame and its legacy of being inclusive of all individuals who practice cultural traditions in the city. Well, I think that people who practice certain cultural traditions are community leaders, and that the maintenance and perpetuation of those cultural traditions serve not only to foster stability in those communities, but to provide a sort of non-traditional leadership. Not a leadership that's determined by your name on a ballot, but leadership that comes from being respected in the community. And so if you are a big chief, if you are the president of a social and pleasure club, you know, a member of the Skull and Bone gangs, a member of the Baby Dolls, any of those traditions that emanate at a grassroots level from the community, then you become sort of spokespersons for your community. And that leadership can obviously place you in a position to have the ears of a wider audience. So in that position, then you can bring the concerns of your community to a wider audience. And you serve as a bridge, as well as a point of neighborhood pride, community pride. I strongly disagree with individuals who say the culture comes from the streets, because the street is just a street, it's asphalt. Culture comes from communities, culture comes from homes. People go into their homes and make Indian suits. People go into their homes and make the ritual attire that goes along with the social and pleasure club tradition. When people become ancestors, there are certain things that may be created that go along with that. Memorial fans, corsages, and different things. They don't pop up out the street like you throw beans, a jack, and a beanstalk, and up pops a brass band, up pops a parade, up pops an Indian suit. It doesn't happen like that.
Mardi Gras, they call me India, India Saman, India Saman, nobody ready. Oh, you ready? Take my song, head along.
Take your song all night long. I take your song and sing it all night long. Early that morning, late that night, then going to plane. Sick 'em up right out. Let 'em come now. Let 'em come now. Say me, Big G.